We have recently seen an ambush of voter registration and voter ID restrictions in states across the country.
The torrent of new voter suppression laws across the country.
Voters will now be required to show an ID at the polls.
Maine is also poised to make it much harder to vote.
The laws seem designed to hit minority populations.
They hit elderly people. They hit students extra hard.
Push to make it as difficult as possible to vote.
It disenfranchises a whole sector of the American electorate.
We're in a moment right now where we're seeing the most aggressive attempt to roll back voting rights in this country that we've seen in over a century.
My Missouri ID is currently expired now, and for me to get all the documents that I need for my current ID is a big struggle.
As somebody who lives in a dorm at college, we do not have any proof of our current address on campus.
In order to get a Texas identification, you must be a Texas resident, and if I file for Texas residency, then that would throw off all the money that I'm getting in grants.
I would have considerable difficulty getting a state-issued ID because there is a glitch on my birth certificate.
The people most impacted by these new voter suppression tactics are African Americans, Latinos, elderly, young voters, and those with disabilities. The Koch brothers are behind these kinds of laws because they want to cut off the participation of people who are not behind their corporate agenda.
The American Legislative Exchange Council is called ALEC. It really is an exchange between corporations and politicians who both vote on legislation to rewrite our rights.
ALEC put forth a template for voter ID restrictions and pushed that through to the states so that state legislators would pick it up and pass it. We see these laws being passed that make it harder for Americans to vote, harder for Americans to participate and to have a voice and to have power.
Koch Industries has had a seat on ALEC's corporate board. Both the company and foundations that are associated with Charles Koch have made substantial donations to ALEC.
Folks like the Koch brothers are attempting to ensure that as few people of color and as few young people show up as possible.
Protecting the integrity of each and every vote cast in this state certainly is worthy of a simple requirement that we show photo identification as defined under this bill.
I pledge to reform state government, and this voter ID bill will help us achieve that goal.
We instituted a photo ID requirement for every voter.
These voter suppression laws are turning our country backwards.
It's me versus billionaires. And now it's the Koch brothers and ALEC who get to decide that this is not a valid form of ID.
I do think that this is an opportunity for people to take away people that are disabled with their voting rights.
The reason that you target somebody's voting rights is it makes it easier to take away the rest of their rights. You come for that first, and the whole house of cards starts to follow.
Voting is my right, guaranteed to me by my government, and I'm furious that it might be taken away.